or to the cloud.
Ooh.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Raisa, for those who don't know me, and I am the business development coordinator for the town of Minto. I'm responsible for Launch It and the Minto Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to our session 4, which is on marketing and promotions. I am here to introduce Christine. Christine is the powerhouse and award-winning of the award-winning studio CL Designs and the Brand Party podcast. She is when she's not trading in climbing the corporate ladder, she is climbing mountains around the world. And she is helping purpose-driven businesses and nonprofits transform their branding, web design, and marketing collateral into effective, impactful sales. From household names like Walmart, LSE, and CBC Music to bold bootstrapping startups across every industry, Christine's creativity earned her a Digital Publishing Award nomination and a feature in Top 10 Canada Design for the Brand Party podcast. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Do you want us just to go around the room before you get started, Christine? Just so you know
Yeah,
who's
that would be lovely.
perfect. Glenn, you're the keener artist.
It's Monday morning, I can get started. So I'm Glenn Hall. I own a business called Awesome Interactive. We do digital marketing, so that
Amazing.
kind of fits with what we're after here today. Two sides, and then I'm also chair of economic development for Minto, so helping out businesses as much as possible. But from our end, we also want to be aware and be how interested in what you're saying and how it relates to businesses and our clients as well.
Yeah,
That's where I
appreciate
am. So and I'm excited. Good. It's Monday morning. Let's go.
it. Yes.
Belmont is probably still asleep. He's one of my programmers. I don't know if you want to talk or not.
Well, that covers it.
Before you move on, these guys also were responsible for creating our construction website.
Wonderful.
That out yet, please do. We post the updates on there and the business.
It looks great.
Construction Cafe, all the information
Yeah.
is on that website. These guys built it for us.
Oh, amazing.
I'm Elizabeth Sykes. I am a volunteer at Blessings. I do the art there, and Blessings is a first store local that most of the money goes back into the community. Yeah.
Hi, Christine. Dave Turton, the mayor of the town of Minto, and I'm here for the coffee and the.
Wonderful.
Want to thank you and everyone that's involved in this downtown Main Street and Palmerston. It's extremely important to everybody, and I appreciate all the time and effort that's been put into it. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Carlos Trevino. Hello, Christian. I own Dolce Heaven Cafe, which is just down the street. We do coffees, baked goods, catering, lunches. So it's basically everything that you might need in a little small town. So, yeah, that's me.
Amazing.
I'm his wife, so I also own. But I also own a yoga and Reiki studio in the downtown area. My name's Ashley.
Amazing.
Angie, I own Teeny Tiny Tots Children's Spanish shop downtown.
Awesome.
My name is Samantha McGarrigle. I am the future owner of Harmonious Endings End of Life Doula. So I'm an end of life doula for hopefully the town of Minto and the areas beyond.
Amazing. Oh, I love it. It's a great range there. Thank you so much for all the introductions.
So that's it, Christine. You can get.
Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you so much. And I can't wait to, start our week together. But you are in the right place. So very excited to dive into some community-powered marketing, especially whether you're going through construction now or later or beyond as well. So thank you so much, Teresa, for that kind introduction. I'm excited to embark on this journey together over the next 90 minutes. So just a few housekeeping bits, set an intention of perhaps what you want to get out of today's session as well. I would love to hear, even if you want to shout out to start with too, in terms of what you really want to make sure that we cover or get out of today's session. This is really an opportunity to start our week off right together, get rid of any distractions, grab your fresh pen and paper or fresh stock, whatever you prefer best. But yeah, we'd love to just do popcorn style if there's anything specific that you are really looking to dive into specifically in your own business today in regards to branding and marketing.
Christine, if there's questions along the way, will you take questions as you go?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to go through the agenda today too, but there will be a dedicated Q&A time at the end as well. So if there is anything fresh as it comes up, feel free to just, yeah, blurt it out by all means too. But otherwise, we will have anything that maybe takes a little bit more time to reserve that for, yeah, post-presentation Q&A. Yeah, amazing. Anything, yeah, specific that calls out to you that you are looking to make sure that you are getting out of today's session?
Anything? Anyone looking for anything specific today to get out of the session?
I'm looking for, kind of ranking for which platforms are the most effective and particularly based on, the clientele.
Yeah. Okay, that's a great one.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. So over the next 90 minutes together, we're going to really dive into understanding what exactly a marketing campaign is, perhaps some new ideas to get your brain jogging a little bit. And it's a great opportunity, especially with the group here, to make some connections if you haven't already. And also a great way to think about perhaps collaboration in terms of that campaign idea. You don't necessarily always have to start from scratch, but really leverage that community that you have available here as well. And be able to implement a lot of these practical marketing strategies and tips along the way. And these are things that you can implement literally today or this week to really help boost a lot of those marketing efforts towards your business. But we will have some dedicated Q&A time, especially. So definitely, if you have anything specific, jot it down, blurt it out along the way, and we'll make sure that those are all addressed. So just a few quick icebreakers. What is one word that you would describe about how you're feeling about perhaps whether you're going through construction or the upcoming one at the moment?
You want us to go around the room?
Sure. Let's popcorn. Yeah.
Okay. One word. Go.
Yeah, I was gonna say for me particular, probably nothing, but nervous is one good, a lot of businesses.
Not nervous.
That's it.
Excited.
I think it would be worried.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess I'm kind of maybe more determined on how I'm gonna get through it, so determined.
Yeah.
I'm new, so curious.
Mm.
Raisa?
I would say a little bit of excited, and I'm just willing to help. So I just want to talk to everybody that has worrying concerns. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, those are feelings. I'm sure that you probably will have experienced all of those at some point or another in this journey too. And so they're all valid in that sense as well. And so I really want to make sure that we also reframe maybe some of that mindset to start off with that, yes, construction may feel like an obstacle right now or a challenge that you're worried about in the back of your head when you go to sleep at night for your business. But also, it is really an opportunity to be able to tell a better story, to be able to make it worth the detour, all these things as well. It's like really helping develop a better city in that sense as well. And so, this way, I think there's a lot of good that can come with it, a lot of that excitement, especially that some of you touched on. But all to say, too, those stress and worries are equally valid along the way. And so this way, it's a great opportunity for us to really dive into who your business is, like who you're looking to support along the way, too. So, kind of reminder that people still support businesses that they remember. I feel like visibility, especially, matters more than perfection in this sense. And so, being able to boost your awareness, boost that visibility piece of your business out there is a great opportunity to do so in this moment, leading up to or during construction, especially to make sure that people know that you are here. You can really tap into the acquisition of new customers, perhaps, but also is a really great opportunity to retain the really loyal customers that you do have already, especially, and be able to delight and perhaps reward them along the way too. Because people barely rarely visit for just one business sometimes as well, unless you have those really loyal customers or community, especially that you have cultivated as well. And so they really do come for a full experience in that sense. We want to make sure we'll touch on a little bit today too about thinking more brand 360 wise, more holistically, perhaps, of how you want to approach it. This way, you're able to touch on a few things to really stand out in this space, really add to that visibility and awareness piece. Do people know that you exist? Do they know that you're an option to come and visit? If they're looking for something specific, like a really nice warm baked good in the morning, for example, just like you are having right now, they're going to remember that, right? So all those touch points are going to be really helpful in making them have a decision that's really loud and clear in many ways. Because people don't buy just products alone, they really do buy into the founder stories, perhaps, of why you started your business, why it's so important to you, of why you're doing what you're doing now. It's really important to be able to share these experiences together. There's such a human quality of being able to unite and come together and connect in a space, whether they're doing, some wellness or they're trying to figure out end of life, or they're being able to create their digital marketing campaigns. All these sort of things are really important to be able to add to that sense of belonging, that sense of unity in a town, especially. And I think that's the beautiful thing about being able to cultivate a lot of that storytelling, and that be able to visually share that online, perhaps, but also experientially when they do come to your space as well, and be able to actually experience it for themselves. But making sure as well that there is not a huge disconnection sometimes too when they see something online perhaps, and then be able to translate that when they do come in person, in store, or in experience as well, to make sure that it just feels really seamless in that sense. They know what to expect when they come, perhaps too. They have a lot of clarity and confidence by being able to see some of that as well, to cultivate some of this, because construction really does give people a story to really rally behind in that way. We all want to, I think, have this innate belief to want to see other people win in that sense too. And so this is a really great opportunity to be able to come together. And I do want to differentiate a few things around marketing versus promotion as well. And so you may have touched on some of this if you had been to Cat session previously with social media in particular, but thinking about the overall strategy on the marketing side, this is a little bit more perhaps, like I like to say, the inner work is really where the real work happens. It may be the less glamorous sort of side of things when it comes to the outward facing type stuff that you see on the promotional side. So perhaps that's like one tactic or one piece of the strategy that you see implemented, whether that's showing up online on social media, for example. We'll tap into a little bit more too. I have a resource as to what one of you had shared earlier in terms of really getting more specific about who your ideal customer and demographic is, especially to be able to make more informed decisions of where are they actually hanging out, where is going to make the most impact and effort when you are putting time and energy into your marketing, especially. But also considering on the marketing side, you really want to build that awareness and visibility piece as a whole. So thinking about, do people, know that you exist, that if they are looking for a specific option or referral or recommendation for something specific, that you really are that go-to choice to stand out in that market. And also thinking more long term, perhaps on your marketing side, what are the goals that you have specifically that you really want to aim towards versus short term? And so thinking about perhaps what is the intention and purpose around what you're putting out there? Is it that you do want more traffic, foot traffic when construction is happening, for example, versus the what? In terms of having people come in, for a specific promotion, perhaps that you have going on for a shorter duration of time, for example. So all some things to kind of consider when you are thinking more marketing versus promotion that is a bit more short term and very specific or call to action oriented. So I do want to share an example so that you can see it a little bit more tangibly, perhaps too. Thinking about your marketing campaign, perhaps you want to frame it as a positioning of supporting downtown during construction, for example. And then this way you want to implement some sort of promotion, whether that's a discount for your loyal customers that have been with you for some time, for example, or new ones as well. Perhaps they opt into a email newsletter to trade in some of their contact details for that discount, for example. But I will preface as well, I do feel like I am such a big advocate, not necessarily to discount things, but rather surprise and delight and add bonuses or extra value for people as well. So thinking that way, perhaps too. Perhaps you want to think about implementing some sort of like passport contest where they get to visit a few different local stops along the way, because again, people really do love an experience as a whole as well. So thinking even more so perhaps about what are some of the businesses in your area or neighborhood that would complement really well. Because oftentimes, even as well, maybe somebody has gone to, gone thrifting for the day, and then they really want to go out to lunch afterwards as well. They really do complement quite nicely in that sense. So perhaps there are some opportunities for collaboration there. Or perhaps you want to do maybe a bundled giveaway for opportunity so that you get more of that visibility and reach, perhaps too, and be able to leverage both communities or audiences from other businesses who have like interests. Because many businesses think that one Instagram post, for example, is a campaign. And so I really encourage you to think outside that box to really have multiple touch points out of people. So thinking even with an analogy of a highway, for example, things are going so quickly all the time. It can be very overstimulating sometimes as well, especially in the social media space. And so thinking about how do you actually stand out when you are making these marketing campaign efforts is that you're going to have to do it more than once. So thinking about a flash of red goes by, maybe the first few times that you notice, and then maybe the third, fourth time you start to notice a fun spoiler detail on the back of the car, and then maybe the fifth, sixth time you start to clue in on a fun bumper sticker on the back. All to say, maybe seventh, eighth time you finally notice what that actually message says on that sticker. All to come back to it takes multiple times for people to actually really get clarity from your message. So even if you are feeling like a broken record in that sense, I promise you, not necessarily everybody's going to see every single post that you come out with or every single piece of content that you create as well. So this way, it's going to help leverage and really deliver that clear message much more quickly, much more effectively when you are thinking longer term or more action oriented for your campaign. So I do encourage you to think that your campaign is really having that goal essentially matched with your audience, your message, your offer, your promotion, and a really clear timeline in that sense too. So I am curious to hear maybe around the room as well. I'll share an example to start off with, perhaps if there is a specific goal that you do have with your business during this time of construction. So perhaps you want to have a campaign position more so around it's like worth the detour as a umbrella idea. And perhaps maybe your goal is to increase your downtown visits as an example. Maybe your audience you've identified is primarily a majority amount of local families, for example. And then you want to offer perhaps a visit of three local businesses that complement really nicely to you with a promotion of that passport style with some additional collaboration type social posts out there. Maybe have some window decals as some nice visible opportunities for additional awareness. And then maybe there's a prize for that passport contest, right? But you're really going to keep it nice and clear in terms of that specific timeline, whether that's maybe you match it with the execution time of a specific construction timeline. But I'm curious to maybe go around the room here in terms of if there's a specific goal that you're really looking to amplify during that time or window of construction.
What? Any goals during construction?
I think this is probably for everybody. I think
Yeah.
it's more the visibility and getting more people to come through the downtown when the construction is happening. Like right now, it's bad, but I think next year when the actual street gets torn up, it's going to start being a little bit more of a problem.
Yeah, for sure. That's kind of why we wanted to do this stuff this year, is for people to build up their visibility and grow their audiences and partner with each other to grow your audiences and build those relationships so that people want to make that effort to come to people's businesses next year, right? So it's good you guys are all here. I wish more of the businesses were here to kind of get on this.
But that's a really good point too, right, Belinda, is that even when I say preparing for campaigns, even like you're preparing for construction, I do also believe as you are getting informed and being here in these sessions together, is that you're warming yourself up equally for this time. And so I think all to say, it's a good reminder for us of how we need to warm up our audiences and customers as well to be able to know what to expect going into it, right? And so even though you may have this dedicated, let's say, month for this marketing campaign online to drive traffic in person for these downtown visits, I also encourage you to really make sure that you're mindful of even ideally 4 to 6 weeks leading up to that even starter or harder campaign in a way to warm people up, get them excited, get them really like that highway approach too. Be mindful of those multiple touch points in there so that they are really much more primed and ready to be able to see this type of information as well.
I think like even some of the strategies you guys are using now would be helpful. Like, so
Mhm.
Dolce's in their second birthday coming up, and they
Congrats.
engage the audience of like, what are we gonna do for our second anniversary? It was like a poll, right? Some people keep checking like, oh, what are they gonna do for their
Mhm.
anniversary, right? And so it builds that excitement. So even like using some of that strategy for this, right?
Yes.
Cross promotion, like for
Yes.
instance, if they bought something in your store, they get something free in our store, that kind of
Mhm.
thing. Some merchants are more proficient or have more expertise in terms of social media. If the town of Minto was advertising on their website with your expertise, that we're doing that kind of promotion with each
Yeah.
other, then you've got us, we've got you in terms of all of us posting the same information, some repetition.
Yes.
And I think
Exactly.
we're building on the expertise of people that already know what they're doing. Because most of the volunteers at Blessings are seniors and this isn't their forte.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
And we'll be supporting like businesses along the way with like social media and website stuff and promotions and passports and giveaways and all that stuff as well. So the businesses won't be like on their own.
Hmm. I think this is a good opportunity as well, to your point about being able to be really mindful when you are choosing these specific channels to deliver this information. So just as you had mentioned too, like being mindful of if it is a little bit more of an older audience, let's say, they're probably not going to be on Facebook themselves, right? And so making sure that you have visibility in the windows if they are passing through with their families, perhaps, or I think the website is still helpful as that go-to hub, perhaps, of information that maybe their kids or family members may be looking out for things to do as a family still. So just even thinking they may not be your direct audience, but there are ripple effects of who's involved in that decision making to get them there too, right?
Yeah, we did have another comment here. So
Yes.
Ange,
We have a big clearance sale at the end of July every year. When do you suggest to start promoting that with a couple weeks?
Yeah. I would say, yeah, exactly. I always like to give buffer like 4 weeks at least, just to give as much ample time. But to your point earlier, even about those, I love a micro engagement. So meaning even to your point earlier about those polls, for example, really bringing people into the decisions, getting them primed and ready. Because oftentimes, if you even give them a light ask nowadays to engage, so whether that's like, do you like option A or B, making it really easy for people to engage at that point, very lighthearted, but it's still relevant to your business. That when you do have more of a sales ask, let's say, and promotion, like coming out to the big sale at the end of July, they're much more open and excited to be part of that versus, never having engaged or really taking that next step in action to that visibility or ask even.
Right, sometimes we're worried that if we advertise too soon, they'll wait and they won't shop then and they'll wait
Right.
too, but so it's kind of trying to figure out what is the best.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that it's worth definitely putting out there at least like let's see, the mid July already. So I do think it's a good time at least to put out there at least if there are more of your loyal customers, especially, they'll probably be more susceptible or already engaged in that way and expecting something like that if they have been in the past, for example. But otherwise, I think just to get people ready, especially summer, such a busy time of year, whether they're in town or out or, out and about. You're competing with so many things sometimes as well. But I always like to say, even a few days before it's going to happen, because some people are very last minute in that sense of what they're even going to do that following weekend, that it's a good opportunity to really push a little bit more closer to too. Yeah, perfect. So this is a great segue, perhaps, of what coming back to brand foundations as well, of what a really great brand does. So coming back to that brand recognition, that visibility, that awareness piece that you're all really looking for, it really does help to make yourself as consistent as possible, perhaps too. But I also like to say consistency is one of those buzzwords that gets thrown out quite a lot in the marketing world, especially. I feel like it's also something to be mindful of your capacity in this season, especially with disruption and kind of a change of flow of things that is happening with construction along the way in your process of your day-to-day operations. And so being mindful of that, be really aware of how much capacity, time, and energy do you actually have to dedicate towards marketing in this season of life is really important as well. But being able to show up as best as you can. And then looking at that trust piece. So oftentimes, if you think about if you have ever been asked a recommendation or referral, for example, whether you really want to build that trust ultimately with your audience as well. So whether that's acquisition, gaining new customers wise, or retaining the people that you do have in place already, you really want to make sure that you aren't disconnecting that along the way. But really bringing people into the process does help with that ability to keep and retain them. Because when we really look at being able to implement a lot of that recognition and awareness piece and that trust together, it really does help to convert to sales much more either quickly or much more seamlessly and naturally in a sense as well. But I am curious, are there any examples of businesses that you're aware of, whether personally or online as well, that you feel like are doing a really good job? Are there any specific traits that you see in them?
There definitely are. I think the social media drives a lot.
Hmm.
From your end, I'd be very interested in knowing what you think of email signups and how important email is to the world right now.
Yeah. I mean, I have lost actually, I was hacked a few years ago on my Facebook account and so was never able to retrieve that back. And you hear this so often, right? It's like if you lost all your followers tomorrow, like what would you have as the heartbeat perhaps or a channel to be able to communicate with your customers? And so I do think that there is something to be said about people having an email newsletter. Again, I don't think that you need to necessarily blast people every week, especially being mindful of what your customers' behaviors, like what they're looking for or lifestyle and scheduling as well, is like being mindful of if they're really busy parents, let's say, more than likely they probably won't want to see your email on a Monday at lunchtime or something like that, right? It's not going to be effective. So I think there's a lot of factors to email newsletters in general, but also then I think it's a great way because people are choosing to be in that space of wanting more information from you in a more personal way, perhaps as well, um, alongside to complement your social media too.
Yeah.
Yeah, great question. Any other traits that you feel like, yeah, people are doing really well in their businesses specifically that you really are inspired by?
I think it's more videos. I've noticed a
Mm,
lot of videos, people doing more, even if, I mean, I've seen
mm,
people on Instagram and Facebook doing videos that I
yeah.
would say don't need to do it, but because of how the world is nowadays,
Hmm.
it's almost like you have to do it in order to get some engagement. And I have noticed that when I post something of a product compared to uh, a picture of a person with a
Hmm.
product, it gets a higher, I guess, look and click and reach than the other one
Yeah.
has nobody on the picture, right? Which
Interesting.
again, for something for me, like
Hmm.
the product should speak for itself, not, talking about the product, right?
I understand what you're saying. Yeah. It feels counterintuitive sometimes, doesn't it? Because you want the focus to be on the product, let's say. But I feel like more than ever, especially with the rise of AI, especially, people have this meter nowadays, especially to know what's real and what's fake to a certain degree. And so, to your point, I think that especially on social media, we often forget that it was meant to be social, right? That we want and crave more than ever, especially optimistically coming out of COVID too, that we want that sense of connection. We want that sense of community and belonging in many ways. How does this fit into our life on a day-to-day basis, perhaps, or special occasions, or maybe we just want a sweet treat in like to start off our week, right? So all those type of questions may come to mind. And when you can really help deliver and bridge that gap between how does this, what's in it for me? I think that's the question that people are always kind of thinking about. I always come back to as well, even when I'm passively scrolling on social media myself, like what are the things that I gravitate towards? What are things that I would stop the scroll for personally and really lean into that because then you're thinking about customer behaviors in that way. What are things that are actually going to create more joy and like brand familiarity and trust versus adding to the noise, right? So I really like encourage you if video sometimes feels a bit of a challenge right now. It is a muscle to a certain degree that I do feel like with practice, you will get more comfortable with it too. And I'll share maybe a quick antidote as well is that I had felt exactly the same way. I wanted to have my work speak for itself when I was starting out my business almost 8 years ago now too. And this was like pre-TikTok, pre-Instagram Reels out there. It didn't exist at the time either. And so at that point, I had felt like I just wanted to really show up for my audience, whether that was for 2 minutes or 20 minutes. I really wanted to show up with my best foot forward, do it scared, do it with fear and worry. And so I decided to go on Instagram Live every day, Monday to Friday, for a month. So during that 30 days, sometimes I am honestly talking to a blank screen. There's nobody there. Sometimes it's a really great group of community out there as well. And so, all to say, throughout that 30 days, I had learned a lot about myself to show up, whether I felt a type of way about it, what I needed in order to feel successful or confident, perhaps on camera as well. But also then figuring out that demand had grown because of that visibility, that brand recognition and awareness piece as well. People really enjoyed being able to see and humanize that experience together. They really put a face to the name of the business. But also, then at the end of 30 days, it became actually 5 more months of weekly Instagram lives to a point where I decided then as well to put out a poll on Instagram to ask my audience whether they would prefer to show up again consistently weekly for a Instagram live or if they would prefer a podcast. And so that was when the Brand Party podcast was born after 6 months of doing these lives. Because the people had spoken that market research was really effective and helpful to gain that consistency and familiarity and trust ultimately too of what they could expect from it. But then it's really helping figuring out perhaps a channel that best serves them that they're actually going to engage with ultimately too and be able to find the best medium for you to deliver information. So I love that you are also mindful of the analytics perhaps and like engagement that you're getting of human-centered videos, for example, with product versus just maybe either photos, for example, of the product alone. I think that's something to be really mindful of. It's still nice to have some variety in there because then it has visual interest or something a bit different that helps to differentiate when you do have more of a human-centric video out there. So I think that they have different purposes perhaps too, but knowing that a lot of your audience is more engaged with that, I would then, double down on those specifically as well, even in a season where you are feeling particularly busy too. Oh, go ahead.
Grace.
Yeah, go for it.
I was just going to answer your question that you asked about what type of brands speak out to you, and I just had 2 examples that is current. Like, so World Cup is happening, and I found Tim Hortons was great to promote all their Timbits with the different countries that came to Canada to play the game. So that was cool, and obviously sports. So I liked that night had very interactive videos to promote the sport, the World Cup, as well as all the top players. They brought them in. They had like these little competitions, and that that was their promo video, but everybody was just like engrossed because they got to see all these competing athletes
Yes.
work together under one brand. So that was cool.
Yeah, I love that. I am also a big fan of the campaigns that they have been running. And I think to your point too, it's like really great to be mindful of who you're associating with. Are they going to really embody like the values, the lifestyle, the choices of you as a business as a whole too? Like you don't necessarily need like Nike budget or Tim Hortons budget in order to be effective in that way either, right? But I think that it does help definitely to a certain degree. But I think when you find that alignment and complements what you're already doing out there, it's just going to help amplify it even more while being really specific with a life event like the World Cup or like construction time, right? To really bring that attention to surface. So, really great example. Thank you. And so I like to encourage you to think about your brand 360 in that way. So internally, again, I really feel like that inner work is really the real work. It's less perhaps glamorous bit that people don't see that is really going to help you achieve that clarity so that when you do deliver more externally, it is really clear. So whether that's more of the strategy wise of things, what are your core values that you want to associate your business with? So even for example, like transparency and integrity is a big value of mine in my business where I then like post pricing, whether that's on social media or on my website, for example. So there are subtle ways that you can integrate these values very easily into your business, or whether that's internally to thinking about who is that ideal customer that you want more of, ideally too. To then be able to translate a lot of these externally. So whether that is through your color choices, your logo, your channels of marketing that you're going to be implementing on. So again, being really mindful of who exactly that audience internally is to be able to meet them where they're at ultimately. But then to be able to really bring this full circle, I feel like a lot of the things that people often overlook is around the experiential side of it too, especially with a physical space and location. It's really a key thing to keep in mind is how are you going to bring all of these elements, values wise, like colors, etc., in there to the experience that they're coming out with, whether they come to visit in person or even if you end up delivering as well, like what is that whole experience from beginning to end? And so, Reza, this is such a great example with the Tim Hortons, for example, that you had brought to surface, because I do want to share a few other examples as well of the power of what strong branding can do for your business as well. So thinking about, you can get maybe a bottle of water at your local convenience store for, let's say, $1, maybe a little bit more because of inflation nowadays. But perhaps you also look at some other options out there. There's like Dasani water bottle or the Voss one in the nice tall glass, for example, that they've customized a and thinking about positioning perhaps too, maybe it's a really hot thirst quenching day in the summer and they are pitched outside a baseball game, let's say. They've really owned being able to be in the right place, in the right demand and space for the type of people who are looking for what you're offering, able to then charge, 4 or 5 times more as a result. On the other hand, too, maybe you can get a local pair of sneakers at your department store, for example, about $25, let's say. But Nike, as the example that you had touched on earlier, too, they've done a really great job over the years in terms of being really innovative with the materials and research that they're doing in that space, really owning and occupying that authority and thought leadership in that athlete space, especially, and thinking about in the fitness world too, how are they associating with partnerships, whether that is, World Cup athletes out there, or whatnot as well, hence able to then charge 10 times more or even more as a result, and being able to increase that community, that loyalty in their customers, but also then, their sales as well. And so I want you to also think that the messaging side of it is equally important, especially if you have like co-founders or multiple people in your team as well as a collective. This is going to be really helpful to make sure that your voice online is unified in that way. So it doesn't feel like multiple people are managing at the same time, but that your brand is really one unified piece. So I would encourage you, this is just a fun list to maybe start out with, but not to say there is any right or wrong answer to associate it with if you feel like one resonates more than other that isn't on the list as a whole. But I'll give you a moment to maybe choose two specifically from this list if there are specifically anyone that jump out at you uh, that resonates with how you would describe your own brand. And if you feel like you have identified some of them, I'm curious to hear if anybody wants to share if there are specific ones that have resonated with you and your own.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think my goal is to be more than trustworthy,
Mm,
just because of my profession.
yeah.
I think that my brand might be a little bit more showing creative.
Hmm.
Like my logo and
Yeah,
stuff that
yeah.
I've created, that I've come up with so far, it might also work on the creative. things.
Yeah. Thank you.
I would be local and family oriented.
Mm.
I'd rather be friendly. Well, I mean, not that I'd
I
rather.
feel you're also
I
playful.
was gonna
Yes, I was
say,
gonna say friendly and creative or playful is kind of.
Yeah. And so I think there is overlap perhaps as well. Like you can be more than one thing, just as I like to say to really humanize your brand, right? I like to say that you can humanize your brand like describe it like it's your best friend. You really want to help humanize a lot of those qualities and traits perhaps as well. But I also think that being really specific does help you gain that clarity in place. So if you are to distill it down to those core, maybe two, three, ideally, it's really nice to be able to come back to even as a resource when you are doing anything messaging oriented, whether that's on social media or your website copy, stuff like that. It can really help to translate that as well. Yeah.
Anyone else?
I think for us would be, I would think local and premium.
Mhm.
I would say family oriented too. I mean, there's a bunch there that can classify us, but I think local and premium are the
Yeah.
first ones, I think.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
for the studio, I would say trustworthy and warm.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, amazing. Thank you. So yeah, I think these are all great words to come back to. So definitely I would say jot them down if you haven't been written them already, just for you to come back to whenever you are creating some outreach and marketing efforts too. I will share with you a template that I created over on Canva as well. So this way you can dive a lot deeper into perhaps around your demographic and ideal buyer situation in there. So let me pull this up and I'll put the link. Maybe Reza, I will share also the link with you to send out to people with the presentation along the way. So I will say too, let me share my screen just to this way I can walk you through it in a bit more detail here. Okay, perfect. Let me zoom in a little. So in terms of it, when you do get to this link, I will say it's a template link that I've shared with you. So go into File and make a copy down on this tab, and then that way you have a version for your own specific account as well. You can create a free Canva account, which is really nice to be able to edit this from. But this way, I have prompts and instructions up here as well that you can follow along. But this way, I also like to really humanize the buyer persona or avatar, if you will. So this way, even if you have a really loyal customer that has come, support you for a while, I like to name that person as well, just to really help humanize it, really dive into their specific demographics, whether that is like why motivation, decision makers of why they come to your business specifically, what are some of the challenges that they have when trying to make these decisions, what are the needs that they have perhaps to thinking about the marketing channels as a whole that would best fit them, where are they actually hanging out on currently to be able to be most effective. But then also looking at perhaps opportunities based on that marketing mix of like your products that you offer, the pricing in there, how can you be competitive in that space, the type of people that they're surrounded by in community, the places that they're hanging out most in, whether that's downtown or elsewhere, perhaps too, if there's a specific promotion that they would most be gravitating towards. And then even thinking about that customer journey piece of how to really help with those touch points, that highway analogy that we talked about earlier. What are those emotions that they're experiencing throughout? So even as you had all talked about thinking about the journey of construction, even as a whole, thinking about that awareness piece to start off with, perhaps in that area, that visibility, that they're just starting to get to know you. How are they feeling at that stage? Considerations that they have perhaps too when they're thinking about looking at an option that you offer, then going into that purchasing, onboarding, and like loyalty and advocacy afterwards too. So there's a lot of areas that you can print out or fill in as a whole too, but really great resource if you want to be able to dive into that a little bit more.
I just want to comment that doing something like that really helps just for everybody, because we did it for when we did our rebranding. And it helped us really pinpoint what our marquee person for marketing should be. So I would say it's very important to do that for a business if you have that.
Yeah, perfect. No, I really appreciate that insight. Thank you so much. And yeah, I think this is really nice to come back to on a regular basis as well. So whether you are writing specific things or just like always keeping that person in mind, right? Because then it's going to, I feel like when we create messaging, especially from a branding perspective, it can feel like we want to cast a wide net and talk to everybody. But often when we are trying to talk to everybody, we talk to no one. And so this way, being really specific, being really clear, it does really help those specific people clearly identify themselves when they are looking to make that decision as well. And so I like to say that marketing doesn't stop at getting someone through the door necessarily either. I know a lot of you had mentioned that your big goal is to drive traffic, ideally to get them in person. But also, I encourage you to think about how do we get them to come back equally as much too, right? So this way, thinking about that awareness and visibility piece, like are they finding you on social media first? Are they finding you through the Town of Minto website? Where are they finding you ultimately, perhaps as that starting point to then encourage them to come out and visit the store, and then be able to perhaps then look at are they going to make a buying decision based on those big decision makers or motivators out there that you've identified in that persona avatar? And then really looking at what is going to drive them to return back or refer or recommend you perhaps as well, I think is equally powerful in that sense. So this way, really encourage you to think like long term, what does that customer value or journey look like beyond, step 1 to 3. And I also like to encourage you to think more holistically as well of how to support your marketing efforts and activities. So between what we've had talked about, like short-term promotional wise, but also long-term strategy oriented, that's going to really help serve you. Because this way, if you're only focused on short term, it's only going to serve you in those interim moments, but not necessarily long term to keep that lead generation and acquisition in there. Or it's even thinking about inbound versus outbound oriented. So inbound is really attraction based in that way. So thinking about things like SEO for search engine optimization. Are people finding you online on websites in Google, for example? Are they seeing you through blogs as an example as well? That's a little bit more inbound long term. In that way, if people are searching for natural keywords of specific things that you offer, or perhaps outbound oriented, which is interruption based. So whether that is like social ads or perhaps even like billboards or posters and signs around town, these are all things that are interrupting their day-to-day basis in there. That's stopping them to look out for what you have to offer too. So I want to go through a few low lift, perhaps marketing ideas that you can implement just to get your brain started a little bit. So whether that is behind the scenes aspects of it, like how are you navigating construction? What does like a day in the life look like, perhaps as well? I think like staff and team features are really great for that thought leadership, sharing that expertise that you have on your team in there as well, putting a face to the name when they do come by. It's really nice to be able to offer that if there are construction updates that are very relevant for you, specifically if it's very busy during a specific time to, again, like set expectations for people of what they can go into when visiting the space, whether that's like customer photos already. So driving and creating maybe a bank of a folder, even of user generated content. So whether that's people with your product or like the transformation after a session, for example, that they've done with you, perhaps some frequently asked questions. So even I think that your comment section on social media is such a bank of a resource and knowledge for you of what to create content wise as well. So if there is something specific that people are either engaging and talking about specifically quite often, most of the time, or having questions pop up on a regular basis, I like to put them even just in a note in your phone or even a fresh Google Doc or something like that, or even just a piece of paper, honestly, too, so that you have one place to go back to of what people are really interested in at the moment, too. Perhaps you have a special out there for a short period of time, promotion, collaboration posts that really help complement what your business is already doing with like interests, customer basis, sending out email reminders. So even knowing that you have that sale at the end of July, for example, giving people some notice or kind reminders of the day before, for example, or day of, just to get them to really drive in and come back. Perhaps you have like a QR code of the map around the area of other stores in that space that they can visit passport style wise as well. These are all some opportunities or ideas that you can to get started with. So I want to go through a few examples of some clients that have created some content as well that I think could be helpful to create some ideas perhaps for you as well. So let me just pull this up here for you. So this is one of my clients that has a specialty coffee shop.
Their volume.
We can't hear anything.
No? Okay.
It's on, yeah.
Anyways, the audio is not relevant necessarily, but I think the visual wise, what I want to drive home with this one in particular is like this way, if you feel like you're in a difficult spot to navigate during construction, for example, what I really like is maybe it's entertaining and humorous, perhaps in style, but what I do like about it specifically, it's very clear of how to navigate to find them in that sense as well. And so this way, it really brings people into those visibility markers. Seeing this perhaps multiple times in different styles could be helpful in that sense to navigate how to find you if this is their first time or even during construction season where it can feel a little bit more confusing to navigate to really bring people to that space especially. And then another example that I want to share as well. Let's see. Is they did a collaboration in that sense, or they had a promotion actually for a very specific weekend time period. So it's nice that they are, again, sharing the exact date in there, being able to draw people into the store, like what can they expect once they're in there as well, giving them a kind of a preview of what's available collection wise, perhaps as well for that period of time. And they also had this swap and sell approach to it. So very like community oriented that they want people to bring things in and whatnot as well. So this way you can be really tight in terms of your clarity if there is a specific promotion that you have. But they also promoted this Fringe Festival that was happening at the same time. So again, really leveraging specifics in terms of time, place, what else can they visit along the way that complements what they're already doing in this neighborhood too, and leveraging that collaboration on the same street, for example. And then the third one too is a static post here, but she had collaborated specifically with, sorry, not sorry, who was the previous reel here. But this way she had sold leather bags specifically, but bringing their complementary approaches of offers to surface. So being able to tag them both as a collaboration post, inviting contributor access to both of it so that you're able to leverage both audiences who have like interests, who would perhaps be in a similar space available, but also like the same type of thing that they're both offering to. And then the last example that I do want to share with you as well is so one of the other clients had been part of this as well, but they had bundled all of their offers, their products together essentially as well. So they really leaned into like the time and season of things. Like they wanted it to be like fresh, floral, and feeling like sunshine in this week's in particular. And so this way they really leverage that kind of feeling, the emotions involved that really draw people in, perhaps the coloring as well, perhaps that really leverages it. But then you're able to access a lot of these by tagging them specifically. I also encourage you to tag in the location as well as great for search engine optimization on your social media too to leverage. And then that way they had gone into a carousel like slideshow posts essentially of all the specific products on their own, just for a little bit more of a spotlight moment for each of them. But again, if you have complementary products that somebody else is offering, it doesn't take away from it. I think it adds to it and really gets people thinking about what other things can I go and visit along the way? What are things that I am excited to perhaps purchase as well? So hopefully this gets your brain jogging a little bit of if there are other opportunities to be able to access as a result.
Christine,
Yeah,
can I show a quick Facebook video of one of our local businesses that last
yeah.
week? Okay, we entered like a new phase of construction last week with the second roundabout being started and
Hmm.
adding to the chaos, etc. And one of the businesses kind of used it as like a funny video to drive traffic. So I was just
Hmm.
gonna, so
Yeah,
I
sounds
liked
great.
it. And just like, yeah, use the construction as a way to drive traffic.
Mm.
I think it's this one here.
Oh, in Palmerston, if you look right, you need.
Is it
Hello,
sharing?
friends. Well, now in Palmerston, if you look right, you need to wait. If you look left, you need to wait. Well, if you're gonna wait, you might as well wait for a cold drink. Our doors is open. Come in.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, so fun. Yes. I think
Hello, friends. Well,
that's a
now in
great
Palmerston.
way. Exactly. I think that's such a great way to go about it. And I think then too, to somebody's point earlier, like really humanizing it as well. Like it's really such a nice, a lot of you had touched on like that warm, trusted, welcoming sort of tone that you like as well. And I think those brand voice characteristic traits you can also emulate in your video personality wise, right? So this way it's all thinking very holistically of how they all tie together in that way too. And so I do encourage you to think cross promotion wise in that sense to really help leverage a lot of those great benefits as well. Be able to tag another business that complements what you're already doing in that space, or even thinking about the experience when people are coming, whether they're going to, planning their end of life sessions, for example. Maybe they do need to decompress and go do some wellness classes after, to unleash a lot of that, or perhaps thinking about bundling your offers or products out there in a way, or perhaps like having a joint event in the community that you're all coming together collectively to really help support one another in that sense, but also that people are excited for to come out too. So I'm curious to know, are there any businesses, whether here today or that you have in mind that complement your business specifically naturally already?
Ashley's and mine complement each other. It sounds like Blessings may actually have some connections just with the cities firsthand.
Lots of clients.
Yeah.
And although you're family oriented, you may actually just be somebody who ends up hearing about the family trauma that's happening, just even though they are coming into the store to get something for a gift or a child, you may end up hearing that that's the, so those types of collaboration, I think, are very much effective.
I heard they're at my store and then they're with kids and then going to your place to get ice cream. Yeah.
And I think like blessings and tiny tots for sure, because people are good deals and good stuff.
And we get a lot of people in the cafe who have
Mhm.
either just come from Tiny Tots or just come from Blessings, or they're getting a coffee and they're on their way over.
Yeah.
There is a lot of
There is a lot of cross
cross
Yeah.
customers.
customers.
But I could see if, let's say we send
you know, you buy a piece of art that's worth more than $10, you get a copy. Like, so that you're getting a customer who's gonna go over and probably buy something to eat as well, because it looks so amazing. Right, that kind of thing, like not just a t-shirt, but like something of value. So that you're getting a customer who might be not just your average thrift shopper, but somebody who maybe would be more appreciative of your product.
I also had somebody in last week and they said they're from Listowel and every time they come to the dentist, they stop at the store.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I love that.
They
Oh,
get
cool.
that too.
They're bringing their kids.
Yeah, they brought the kids to the dentist and they always stop in.
And one I was told about that, you may not know, but Lisa Shawns was telling me their car wash. They get a significant number of people come from Listowel over to it. Maybe they're on this side of Listowel, they find it easier, but they find it high quality. So I don't know if that's an area you can put promotions or signs or
Very cool.
something
What
else.
do you guys do when you're waiting for your car to be washed? You're looking straight ahead, so like working with Lisa to have some kind of like movement of different ads or something like that. Or
But
just
yeah.
like before you head in, grab a coffee and then drive through, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
that's-
that's important. I read a lot of the
Signs.
signs.
Yeah. Yeah.
One you guys in the hairdresser, right? Like Studio April next door.
But specifically for the car wash, she was talking to us, she was a little concerned about the construction because suddenly people from Listowel, once the far side happens, won't be able to get over as easy. So it's kind of wondering what she was gonna do for her business and how to promote it and all that kind of stuff, so.
Yeah. I think that like ad placement or promotional placement is so important to your point too, right? That you just touched on and like where people are already going in that sense and gravitating towards. So I think that's really helpful. I love seeing the ideation already happening in that room. And so just to jog a few different ideas in there or to recap a few of those too, some shared promotions that you could implement or perhaps Town of Minto is already doing too, along with it is around like that passport challenge. So visiting a few different spots that are complimentary in that vicinity, neighborhood, maybe shop local weekends if you really want to drive home a specific like duration in there. Any sort of receipt rewards that you were just brainstorming, for example, any sort of like construction specific examples that you want to maybe attach to some milestones in there. Lunch and shop, there seems to be a lot of complementary tones that you had brainstormed in there as well, whether that's like sidewalk giveaways or bundles that you want to come together as a collaboration of a bundle together even. These are all great ideas to be able to leverage of what you're already doing as low lift, but really create that big impact that you're looking for. So over the next 30 days, I definitely encourage you to like reach out to a fellow business owner or neighbor, complementary business owner in there in that space. This is something that you can do even today, this week, to get to know and nurture that relationship if you haven't had one already. Perhaps you want to plan one collaboration out there as well. I think this is a great opportunity to what Reza and Belinda had touched on too, is like giving yourself enough time previous to even test things out perhaps together to see what is really working quite well, because this is not to say that you have to be a one and done trick pony. You can, if it does well, bring it back a year from now when it's really like high construction season, especially, and you've already tested it and know that it's going to perform well, right? Plan something together and see how that works. Be able to iterate it along the way, perhaps as well. You don't need to do this like every week, every month by any means, but looking at those resources, looking at the capacity that you have and like that leeway leading up to warming people up in your audience and community to really leverage as best execution as you can too. And so curious to maybe go around the room here in terms of reflection of what is one idea that you're leaving excited to try today?
Not that I'm trying it, but just based on what you said, I'm wondering, like with Ange, your big sale going on, does Blessings also have a big sale? Because you guys sometimes do stuff of bags and different things.
Yeah, we pretty well do like a cycle every month.
Yeah. So like if there is like you're doing a sale and your sales at the same time, like, hey, what even bigger reason to come to Palmerston and hit up two big sales at the same time and grab a coffee and
Yeah.
or right? Like there's there's lots of, I think, exciting ideas. And at the start, when you asked like, what's one word, like when Races said
Mhm.
opportunity, like we know it sucks and like construction's never easy, but it does create opportunities to be creative. And
Absolutely.
some businesses in Harrison during construction, because of all the extra stuff that was going on, their sales increased, right? So
Mhm.
it is like an opportunity too. So I think it's kind of a bit exciting, but also nerve-wracking, yeah.
I plan on doing a stamp card too, for like
Mhm.
shop during construction, you get a stamp every time you shop, and then
Nice.
when your card's full, it's a 25% off discount or something.
Yeah, I love it.
And we do during construction, we have like pink hard hats and we have dig dollars and we'll go out and like thank people for shopping downtown. And this time we'll give them Thank Minto First gift cards to go shop in
Nice.
Palmerston and spend that money.
I love that. Definitely, I think you can channel that nervous energy into excitement in that way too. I think that when we get excited, then other people can get excited too behind it and rally behind that ultimately as well. And so I like to remind you that construction is temporary, community is really lasting in that sense as well. And so being able to cultivate this together, even in this room in such a short period of time, or even like with your neighbors as a whole, like it really does become stronger when community is there as a whole too. And so I do want to open it up in case there is any specific questions that you want to dive into today as we wrap up. But if you do want to connect afterwards as well, feel free to reach out. And yeah, I'm definitely cheering you all on heading into this season.
Maybe the one question was brought up earlier, I don't know if it really got answered, but it was specific channels. Remember, we're a small business, small community. What type of channels do you think would stand out, like a TikTok versus Instagram versus everything? There's so many.
Radio. Like there's more than just social media too, right? Like
Yes. Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. I do think it's hard to give you a cookie cutter answer because I don't think every business it will serve that way. So I do think that it depends specifically who you are in that sense as well and like who your audience is, which is why I always come back to like that inner work is really where the real work happens and coming back to that strategy and avatar demographic as a whole. So I guess, yeah, for the person who asked specifically, is there any specific insights that you can share? Because I would love to dive into that a little bit more too.
Yeah, I was gonna say switch it and maybe you'll ask everyone around here what channels they use
Yeah.
and find successful. Like we're using, we don't use much. We're an internet tech company and we don't do enough social media ourselves. We're too busy. So we
get
do a lot
that.
of stuff, do email communication, but for me, my business, because of who we are, I find it's all about relationships and we end up spending more time talking to people in
Yeah.
person. Because we don't have a vast, we have a lot of clients, but we don't have a crazy number, we can't keep up. So socials, I'm curious what everyone uses and finds successful, or whether it's email or social, or what do you use? What do you use?
I use Facebook, Instagram, send it, if I have a big sale, I'll email market, like send it an email. And for my big sale coming up, I'm going to be on, the ranch. They're doing, the community,
Like a broadcast, live broadcast.
well, they're for the food bank.
Oh,
So I bought this package and they're giving 10% back to the local food bank.
Oh,
and a
amazing.
30-minute commercial or whatever, and they're gonna advertise that for a week, so it
Nice.
was very cheap.
yeah, and the ranch,
So that was good.
the ranch radio station is like one of our partners during the construction project, so we'll be
I love
working
that.
the newspaper and the local radio stations and they're gonna give like discounts and we'll be advertising on that. But if people want to boost and do more advertising for their specific business, they'll be giving discounts. Like we'll have all kinds of packages for
that.
people. We always do like videos and share them on our social media too. So not just like people and their followers, but all the other followers as
What
well.
does the town find works best for you?
That's a question for Erin.
Yeah.
She's the marketing person.
From my point, I think the best ones that work in Palmerston and surrounding areas are Instagram and Facebook. The demographic, you have two demographics here, the families, which are younger generation that have moved into Palmerston. And you got the older generation that have lived here for a long time that use on Facebook, so they don't want to use Instagram. They
Mhm.
stream Facebook because that's where they talk with their family, with kids or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the younger generation, of course, is still Instagram because they're like seeing all that reels and people having talking this other stuff, right? So I think those are the two that we find. Now, we obviously use email marketing, but again, we only blast it once a month.
Yeah.
We don't,
Yeah.
we have something like a big thing happening at the
Yeah.
cafe. Like this, for example, like today, an email is gonna go out to all our customers to say about, just a reminder about Saturday coming up.
Yeah.
Be it for the month, and then next month I'll do something else, whatever promotion we have, and do that, so.
Mhm.
Well, I found another one, Buzzful, the print.
Oh, this bill, yeah.
Visible.
Yes, he said that he gets a lot of, cause a lot of Mennonite community, and a lot of them read it, so if that's your target market, then it's a good outlet to.
Sure, what was that one?
Baseball,
Visible.
They're in Mount Forest, I believe.
yeah.
They're based there, but yeah, covers our area.
Covers our
Works
whole
around
way.
and drops
Yeah.
off the new ones into the businesses.
Okay.
Yeah.
They get
Like
mail.
once a month.
Yeah, we get it at home also.
It's also like a newspaper, magazine, newspaper,
Yeah.
magazine, yeah.
Advertise.
Mm. I
Christina,
really, oh, go ahead.
I asked this question last time, from, with Kat. And I'm gonna ask you the same question. How effective or should we do social media trends?
Mm. You know what? I always what just so because I'm trying to match the voice to the to the face also from screen, but um were you the same person that mentioned earlier about the human like centered videos performed well? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Okay, I just wanted to confirm because I think that I am such a firm believer. First of all, I really appreciate all your insights about the variety of what's worked well for each of your businesses. And I think that's to say too that I am such a firm believer that you don't need to be everywhere in order to be successful because doing social media and marketing is a full-time job in itself, right? So I know as a fellow entrepreneur that you are wearing all the hats already, even if you have a team. So knowing and acknowledging that, like I think that give yourself grace that choose even like 1 to 2, 3 max even channels that you are going to know that you can be really effective and impactful on. And then as you have more increased capacity and resources, maybe then you can expand to additional channels from there. But this way too, I think I am such a firm believer coming back into the analytics of what's performing well, what are people actually engaging with. And so being able to identify things that you already have, for example, in your business and with your social content, I always like to encourage similarly like a 80% lean into things that are evergreen perhaps or very promotion specific to a certain period of time that you are um, noting in your business to be able to lean into whether that's seasonally, for example, or with construction as another motivator. But then that way you have about 20% to then even experiment with things like whether that is trends or, collaboration in ahead of time, for example, ahead of construction, all those sorts of things. It gives you much more of a stable approach to your marketing in terms of knowing and leaning into what already works that you know is going to generate those leads in there, really great for acquisition and retention for who's already in your community online, but then still give you a good opportunity to continue growing in that sense effectively with things like trends that could be perhaps helpful from a reach perspective, but it's not necessarily always a like conversion play, is how I look at it. I think because it's trending and very like time relevant, perhaps as well, like it requires you to act quickly in one sense, depending on your capacity. But then it doesn't necessarily always, if you don't add your twist to it, I think, and your brand personality to it and all these things, sometimes it can flop in that way because then it's just very easily forgettable because you're hopping on a trend, right? So I do encourage you to have a good balance in your marketing mix.
I have a question.
Hmm.
Can you speak to if it's valuable to use like, these days, influencers,
Mm.
help markets, businesses
Yeah.
as trend?
I
Yeah.
do think that to your point about like humanizing video content, especially, I think that you really humanize the experience out of it of what people can expect, like adds a lot of personality perhaps to content as well. And so I think there are some benefits for it perhaps too, but I think the bigger question from a business owner perspective who's making those decisions is more so around like, do I have the resources to do it, first of all, like whether that is that you want to align it with whether that's a trade for product opportunity or you want to pay them directly. It also maybe depends perhaps on the creator that you are reaching out to, I'll say, to have that collaboration with, but then also looking at, are they actually an aligned fit? What I like to do research wise, even prior to engaging in that opportunity or exploration together, is even looking at what they're already doing with their audience. Like, are they already, for example, naturally promoting your business, or have they been to the space already? For example, have they interacted in it in some way and invested their time and energy? Because then I think that's a good opportunity to have those conversations, perhaps because they're already either familiar or already celebrating and naturally gravitating towards your what you offer. So imagine then if you were to add in an investment at that point too, what they could do for you. But I would say I like to see sometimes there's a lot of vanity metrics on social media that we can get swept up in as well. And so I always like to remind people that the number of followers don't always equate to your bank account, right? So being mindful of that, it's like, okay, if they have, I don't know, 20,000 followers, let's say, for example, but their engagement is really low, I think then maybe there's not the right correlation that you're looking for alignment wise, perhaps. Maybe you want to be mindful of specifics, whether that is like, okay, their values align really well, they're geographically located, in the Minto area, for example, stuff like that, that's really going to matter and drive that audience importance for it, because visibility is great to a certain degree, but you really want specificity as well.
Right. I have one more too.
Mhm.
Brand ambassadors, like tapping into all the businesses that you would have worked with, like the big ones, like let's just say Walmart. Like, do you have any insight as to if cute sells or funny sells? Why I ask is like we have a lot of kids stores in our community, and
Mhm.
sometimes these large corporations use like kids to market their stuff, and people like find kids are cute, so they were like, oh my God, this is so cute.
Right.
Are cool, like a cool grandma going to shop and like picking out these outfits. Like, do those things sell
Mm,
more than just like regular static marketing?
yeah. I would say clarity and personality sell is what I would say is like, what I feel like in the social media space, especially, I'll say is that everybody is maybe looking sideways of like, oh, this seems to be really successful, but it's not necessarily specific to you if you were to copy it, let's say, for example, right? It's really those unique qualities and traits that we come back to that make you memorable and like make you stand out in that space. So I think in one hand, it is really helpful to go into that persona avatar of being really specific of what are their lifestyle behaviors, like who are they making decisions for, what are those decision drivers as a sense, because when you really understand that person, you really meet them where they're at and like show that sense of understanding, which I feel like a lot of people fast forward through that market research or fast forward through understanding who their customers are and just assume. So when we can really get direct insights and access to that information, you're able to really just connect much more clearly with people, which then leads into that conversion of sale that you're looking for ultimately too, perhaps, and drive community impact, to be honest. And so that way, I would say really lean into like who you are and the type of people that you also surround yourself with. I think that's really going to make people feel seen, heard, understood at the end of the day, and you can't trade that for anything.
Any other questions?
Another
Ange,
quick
yep.
question. So say for instance, the clearance event that I have coming up, I've been in business for 18 years and I kind of consistently do the same kind of marketing for this event. Do you think it's smart to keep it the same or should I switch things up?
Yeah. Has it been working, I guess, for you for 18 years? You're obviously been in business for.
I do, but I also wanted to try to keep it a little bit the same to just be consistent too, so.
Yeah. Can I ask what have you done like regularly in the past then?
Just like, yeah, email marketing, social media posts, and then usually
Mhm.
I'll throw it out into like some kind of print, a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that covers a lot of good bases for sure, foundational wise. Like it's something that people can expect who, especially I think loyalty and retention wise, of people who have been with you for whether that's like 1 year or 18 years, they are looking out for those things. So I think that familiarity and trust is definitely helpful to lean into. It seems like it has been working really well for you. So I definitely think that it's still worth doing to that degree. What I would maybe encourage you to stretch and think about then is thinking about whether is there something alignment wise? I think another of you mentioned that you have a clear, like another sale at the same time, for example, to encourage and maybe collaborate on a post like that and experiment to see if that helps drive more traffic, both wise. But yeah, I would see if there's anything relevant along those times and see if you can boost any cross promotion specifically too.
Any other questions?
I really appreciated what you said about product, price, place, and experience, because we've been focusing on place. Because of the construction, because we're
Yeah.
thinking, there's no sidewalks, they can't get in, basically, we're screwed during that period of time. But you emphasize the fact that they're coming for other reasons, not just because of the place. Now, physically, if they can't get in the building, obviously,
Sure.
that's one thing, but, I think if we build that beforehand, that you're coming for the experience. We have a mission, we donate almost like all our profits go to the community. If we really emphasize that,
Yeah.
I think that people will be loyal to us during that time when we're not able to serve them.
Yes.
So that's why I'm thinking, like I felt.
And although there's no sidewalks, people will still be able to get in to your business. It's like dirt, they'll be able to get in, there just won't be vehicles, so like parking will be important, like off-street parking, like off the main street.
Yeah.
But access will be kept open, people will be able to get.
When you understood you were taking it right to the storefronts.
But there, it's like dirt, like packed down dirt, you'll still be able to get in, yes.
Good to know.
Yes, there may be like a day or something and they'll give you like a heads up for sure that like maybe they're laying cement or something that maybe they can't in that day. But like overall, like you can definitely like.
There'll be access to the front.
Absolutely, yes.
Good to hear.
Yes, yeah, traffic, no.
No.
Walking, yes, and even like crossing the street, like when construction is happening, like Moorfield is really good at hiring staff to actually, their sole purpose is to help people across the street and into stores. So yes, definitely people will be able to access.
Feel more optimistic.
Okay.
Yeah. But I love
Yeah.
that you've really come back to driving that mission, especially I feel like consumer behavior is so much more excited to be able to figure out where they're investing their money ultimately, especially if it goes back into the community that they're already a part of, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, sharing that story for
I
sure.
think so.
Yeah, Dave.
So thanks, Belinda. Christine, it's an excellent presentation. I just wanted to say that we're fortunate. We've done this before. We did it in Harrison. And we have the same contractor, the same engineer, and we know what they're capable of. And we know that if we have an issue downtown or anywhere on Main Street, we can go to them, talk to them, and they'll solve it. I think the thing that I like here is it's a we thing downtown. All our businesses are in this together. It's a we thing. It's not an I thing. And if we can steal other ideas and do what's good for each other, it's a really good thing. And I get a lot of emails. And I find that when somebody, if they leave their number on the email, I can call them back and put them in touch with the people that can help. Detours are a big issue. Back streets and stuff, and when we can have a 10-minute meeting on the corner of Dally and Raglan with all the stakeholders and discuss why we did it this way, why we did the detour this way, it really helps. It puts people's mind at ease, and so the more opportunities like this morning for our businesses and people downtown is a really good thing. So
Yeah.
thank you guys for doing this.
I'm just
Thank you so
thinking
much.
too, like, maybe going forward, now that we're more deeper into construction and there may be more construction related questions, having Jeremy attend these things, even if he comes from like 9:30 to 10. And just like if he can give an update, people can ask questions, because that might be helpful going forward. We'll invite Jeremy to come. for those questions. Okay. I think that is it for questions. Before we close out, Christine, I just don't want to forget to share the survey link. This is super helpful for us to be able to plan these things and make sure you're getting out of it what you need. So the QR code is posted there. If you just scan that code and complete the short survey, that would be most helpful for us. You want to do the whole next section?
Yep, so while you're doing that, the next session will be on August 10th, which is on a Monday as well. And we have Carrie Kane coming from KCS Financial, and she'll be doing her session on how to prepare financially for the construction. And she'll be doing a short presentation, but it's more of a conversation. So if you have concerns about the book, finance, just bring all your questions and we'll have like that conversation type of session. So that'd be good. Sign up is always on our great website built by Austin, Palmerston Full Steam Ahead. You can sign up there. And if you missed any of the past sessions, they're also loaded there too. So
Up here. Yeah, there's the website, if you haven't already been.
I think another thing, because we have this website. Any sales, promotions or anything like that should.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's the,
When it comes to the point,
yeah,
Even now.
yeah, even though.
Yeah.
We're in the habit of doing it.
yes. And like people, we've
So
like
hopefully they-
send it to us. Yeah, Erin updates this website. So yes, please send us this stuff. Not only would we put it on the website, we would put it on social media. On the Full Steam Ahead social media. If you're not following on the Instagram, Facebook for that and the All Aboard Palmerston stuff, it would be shared there as well. Yeah, there's the business support stuff there. The business directory is there. What we've done in the past with the business directory, when you like clicked on the businesses, we would have their videos on this page as well. Right now it's diverting to All Aboard Palmerston, but we're hopefully getting a grant to have a more robust system. Yeah, the detours, information on the project, the social media, it's all there. Events, doing business. So yeah, all that stuff is kind of like the hub, like Christine said. So yeah, I'll stop sharing. Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Have a nice day.
Bye.
You too. Bye.